What's up, guys? We're back with another episode of the Disruption Podcast. It's your boy Ankur Garg with my co-host
Ludwig Arroyo. What's up, everyone?
So we're going full buttons today, all the way to the top.
Yeah, I'm in my cholo.
This is an interesting look that you got going on right now.
This is LA. You know what I mean?
There's been an influencer that has affected you recently.
Nobody. No. I make my own decisions.
So we're just disrupting the apparel flow.
We are disrupting fashion. Absolutely. We disrupt everything else. Why not? Right?
All right. So people at home, they probably don't know this, but I joined a mastermind last year, and it's called the Board of Experts. And the Board of Experts mastermind has introduced me to all sorts of characters. But there's been a handful of people that I've created really great relationships with. And one of them has come by the studio today to be on our podcast. But this guy is a legend in his own right. I have the pleasure of introducing Logan Fields, the founder and CEO of the App Guys. What's up, man?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk.
Guys, this guy is a beast of an app developer. How big is the team now?
About 40 people.
40 people.
That's awesome.
Okay. And, I mean, name drop for a second. What are some companies you build apps for?
So we built apps we did a software for NASA that tracks shipments to and from the space station.
Wait, hold on. Did he just say he built an app for NASA, Ludwig?
This is to track, so FedEx for space.
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if we needed to smuggle moon rocks or like Mars rocks back to Earth,
then
you're the guy that we
I'm
call.
your guy. Yeah, I got you.
That's awesome.
I feel like we need to contact Apple TV because like that was the premise of their whole show, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, how do you even get in touch with NASA for a contract?
I mean, like everybody else, they put out RFPs. They put out requests for proposals.
Yeah.
The problem is, let me talk about some of the other stuff we've done because this is interesting. I also ran the Solana Ecosystem, and not the chain, but the ecosystem. And those are big contracts that are complex where RFPs, requests for proposals, go out. And what these companies or organizations do is they have this requirement for like 60-page proposals. And it's like you're in college, right? You got to have it in this font and this many pages and these sections. When you're doing sales to anybody, you have to think about the psychology behind it. Somebody's having to make the hiring decision. You and I both know that nobody would enjoy drafting the 60-page things.
Right.
But who on the other side that's having to read 160-page proposals would enjoy that? And is there anybody that's going to really be able to sift through using that methodology to make a good hire? No. So what I did is I said no to the whole process with NASA and Solana. They both said, hey, here's our requirements for you to give a proposal. And in both those occasions, I just made a 2-minute Loom video, like a selfie video, like this. Bro in a hat and a hoodie.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, what's up? I'm Logan, NASA. I like your rocket ships. I could build your software. I mean, it was a little more articulate than that.
Okay.
But the goal is you want to make a connection with somebody in order to make the sale. In both occasions, I skipped right to the top. We went right to scoping, and I closed both of those deals in less than 2 weeks from first action.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's just about psychology.
I'm going to slide in Dwayne Johnson's DMs today. I'm like, yo, Dwayne, I got you, bro. We can make you a supplement company. Hit me up.
Easy peasy. Just make sure you're wearing a hat and a hoodie. That's it.
Yeah. That's the key, man. You had branding on the hat.
That's it.
Maybe that's what it was.
That had to have been it. They were just subliminally like, the App Guys. We need to contact the App Guys right away. All right, let's talk about that name. Mm-hmm. Where did you come up with the name?
I mean...
Like common sense? Where was it like a moment of like a light bulb?
This is I think I'm kind of good at branding, but I'm also maybe not good in a way that it just works. Because if you look at my stuff, it's like the App Guys, content day, invite only. I just call things what they are, and I claim the thing. And so when I was 10 years ago, when I was figuring out what to call this, I just couldn't think of anything that was like super interesting. And so I was, well, I guess we're the app guys. And now I realize, I would like to think that maybe I had a sense of this when I did it. I'm not sure if I did. That when you call yourself the thing, then you automatically endue yourself with a lot of brand authority. Because now if somebody's like talking about what developer they're going to hire, it's like, well, are you hiring whatever this weird name is, or the app guys? Who are you going to remember? The app guys.
And wait, the domain was available. Everything was.
So when I started, it was not, or if it was, I couldn't afford it, and I had a secondary domain, and then in later years, I bought theappguys.com for, it was like $15,000 when I bought it, and I transitioned to a stronger domain name then.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's insane to me. What gave you the confidence, just to go back to the NASA thing, what gave you the confidence that you can even go after NASA as a software?
So the way I'll frame things like that, when I'm going after NASA, Solana, going up to Encore at that roulette table.
Yeah.
We met at a roulette table.
Of course.
And
it wasn't real money, guys. It was casino night for the mastermind. We had play money.
Got it.
Yeah.
Is it all play money? All money to you? Play money?
The master prize of the night was a Monopoly game board, by the way.
Oh, so was it? I dipped. I just talked to you and then I was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally what I did is I kind of looked for him. I found him, started the conversation, put all my money on black because I didn't care about staying and playing. And then we had our conversation and I left. But the way I look at things like that is I'll quantify it, even if it's like an uneducated, data-driven point there. But I'll say, hey, if I do this with Encore, if I go talk to them about a certain type of deal, or if I talk to NASA, there's a 5% chance anything happens. 95% chance that it just nothing happens of it. And if you set those expectations, then the actions are much easier to take. But also if you set those expectations, it teaches you that you have to take a critical mass of action, because you're hearing about NASA and Solana and me and Encore doing stuff. You're not hearing about the 500 things that didn't happen.
Right.
Right.
So let's take it back to the beginning then. When did you start? How did you get started in this field?
Okay. So 2014, this June will be our 10th year as a business.
Okay.
Hold up. Can I secure our invitation to the 10-year anniversary party?
Yeah, my COO, keeps asking me what we're going to do. But sure, yes, you're invited. I haven't planned it yet.
Is it going to be a casino night?
Probably not. Okay. I lost all my money on black last time. So.
Okay, fair enough.
I was in the nonprofit world before.
Okay.
And my highest paid year, and I still do, a wife and 2 kids. And I was the sole income. She was taking care of the kids. They were much younger then, obviously. And my highest paid year in nonprofit was $36,000. Wow. No benefits, no health, no retirement, nothing like that. There was no shot at me ever buying a house in that scenario. No shot. And so I was poor. I was poor, right? And year after year of that, you have kids and all that. You cannot afford that. So, I was surviving, but I couldn't get anywhere further. So I wanted to make money, man. I just saw that it was time to make money. I had started my own app in the nonprofit world. And through that, which is 2014 in terms of independent software is very early. Mm-hmm. So when I did that, I raised money. I kind of saw what that looked like from family and friends.
Yep.
And in a nonprofit context, pretty much. So I saw that, and then I saw what it took to build one, because I had to go find, it wasn't like the app guys weren't around. You couldn't go just find the app guys and have it built from idea all the way to to live.
Can you imagine what his search results were back then?
Right. No, yeah.
It must have been just the big boys, right? Like
there weren't really big boys yet. That's the thing.
There weren't even big boys in
2014. No. Like, you really have to understand how new, particularly the mobile app world is, but also custom software becoming accessible for people to build. Like, if you come to me, a version 1 software is going to cost between $75,000 to $150,000 for version 1, and then you got to maintain it and stuff. That's a lot different than 5 million, right? So we've been in a process of it becoming just more approachable for independent, non-Fortune 500,000 companies to do.
So your first app cost $5 million?
No.
Okay.
No, but I had to scratch it together. So this is what happened is I went and I found a web developer who he said he could do it, but then he was pulling in other people, and then I had to hire 1 or 2 other independent developers. And then just because you have a developer, what about designing and testing and managing the project and all? So I just saw this hole in the market through that process, and after that, again, I wanted to make money. So I took my week vacation because I couldn't afford to go on a vacation anyway. And I went and I used a family member's printer because I could not afford my own printer. And I printed the worst half-sheet flyers you've ever seen in your life. I used PowerPoint. I took granulated clip art and made just the worst flyer you've ever seen. I'll have to send you a picture. I still have it.
I should prepare myself.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right. And I went door to door to businesses with that week of vacation I had to sell apps. And I took the money from some of those initial sales to start the business and hire the people. So I essentially pre-sold, although people didn't necessarily know that's what I was doing. But yeah, I got money, and then I took that money to start the company. And my first sale was an ice cream shop.
Okay.
And they paid me part cash, part ice cream.
Ice cream.
Yeah. So my first app, I literally got paid with ice cream. But you have to get momentum.
Yeah, of course.
That is the religion. You just have to get momentum.
I'm putting my foot down, Ludwig. It is not okay that we don't have an ice cream client. I want to be paid in ice cream.
Yeah, I realized that the other night when we went out, and I didn't know how much of an ice cream buff this guy is. So, all right, that'll be next. We got to hunt for ice cream.
It's actually harder than you think, though, to use thousands of dollars of ice cream credit.
Oh, put me to the challenge.
Put
me to the challenge.
You haven't met Ankur yet.
I finally, at one point, I had used it some and gotten a bunch for family get-togethers, but I had just thousands of dollars of it left. So there was one day where I walked in and I was like, hey, put everybody in this line. And it was a long-ass Friday night line.
Put it on my tab.
Yeah, just put it on my tab. They actually weren't happy about that.
Of course.
But, yeah.
So, did you have experience building? What's your resume on this at this point? What were you working on, or did you just outsource everything, or did you have a working knowledge on how to create apps?
I did not have a working knowledge.
You knew nothing about apps,
and that is why I was successful in building a company, because what happens, and you see this a lot of times in marketing and design as well, when somebody is a specialist in the deliverable skill, coding, design, ad buying, and they're like, man, I'm really good at this. And then they try to start a business. Well, the running of a business is a much different skill set. It's a different skill set. It's typically a different personality type. So my competitors, particularly at that level, were coders trying to start their own thing. And oh man, I can do all the work myself, they would think, and stuff. Me, I could do no work. So I had to immediately have a staff, right? And then I'm just selling and marketing and project managing for a while, which I was very bad at. So I hired that eventually too. And I had to build my team quicker, which is what actually allowed me to become a successful company.
Got it.
And yeah, a lot of people who are specialists, they fail because they wind up sliding back into doing the work themselves. And that's a trap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about the first fails, because you had to have a bunch of fails. It sounds like if you're bringing on people that you barely know to build apps for ice cream shop or whatever.
Yeah.
How many times did that fail? The whole testing process.
Screw you, man. Oh my God.
Be vulnerable.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we were bad at it for 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
Is really the honest answer. It's not 5 years. We were bad at it for 6 years. Like,
Ludwig was bad at photography for about that same amount of time.
Less, but yeah, of course. I mean, it's like, what do they say? Your first 10,000 hours, for photographers, your first 10,000 photos are the worst. So yeah, to a certain degree, it takes a long time.
yeah, well,
My graphics were good after the first try.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I have my first flyer somewhere on the Dropbox. It's terrible.
I'm sure.
It's probably worse than your half flyer.
yeah, well, and when we're talking about business isn't just getting good at one thing. It's getting good at like 100 things.
Right.
So, I mean, when you're building an app for someone, I think what most people at home don't understand is going to be the process in which you go about building an app.
Yeah.
And I think with like websites and marketing campaigns, there's this pivotal moment of like we can't go back after a certain point, right? Like the no turning back point. Like, hey, we've already invested so much. Like, we're pot committed at this point with this campaign. Let's go see what happens.
Yeah, there's some cost.
I feel like there has to be something like that in the app, space. Could we explain that on a macro level? Like, what goes into the process of coming up with an app? Ludwig and I have this app idea. We want to connect brands with marketing guys. What would be and we came to you. Like, hey, we have unlimited budget.
Yeah.
What's the next step? Like on a macro level, let's not go into like pure granular details.
Yeah, okay. And let's broaden this because it's not just mobile apps, it's software. Right.
Sure.
So web-based software, mobile apps, because a lot of times people think it's very different and it's not necessarily.
And it's called the branding guys or the disruptionguys.com. That's what it's called.
That's the new. That's the app idea.
Nice.
Software.
Okay. So on a macro level, you're asking where it would get stuck or where the point of no return is?
People
What
at
are the
home
steps?
don't even understand what goes into building an app.
Oh, yeah.
And
all right.
so like
yeah,
people
let's
should
talk
get
about
some
it.
education on that.
Sure.
And then I want to talk about how you disrupted the game with a bunch of cool stuff that I've researched about you, and we're going to get into that after that.
Okay.
I should prep you for that. So in the back of your mind, you're like, what is Anka going to ask me?
Yeah, I don't have guesses at the moment. Okay, so the general process is for us, we blueprint first. And what that means is we're scoping. So before I'll even let you do a full contract with us, we do a paid engagement for a blueprint. Right now we charge $5,000 for a blueprint, which takes about 2 weeks. And we're having a 90-minute meeting, my team and whoever from your team. And we're going over the concept and we're just digging deep into the functionality. What are the user types? What are the features? All of that. And then it takes my team and I about 2 weeks to do like technical mapping and system architecture and nerdy stuff that matters to be able to properly estimate it out. Because the thing is, if a developer tells you a price on a full custom software immediately, you got to run. It's not scoped out. Like, these are big projects. They're complex. They are custom. So it takes time to properly lay it out. So we lay out the development schedule, the feature set, the system architecture, all of that. And then we move into the design phase, which is we do wireframes. So that's kind of sketch style wireframing. And then we'll get a mood board together and design preferences, and we'll start to design the app. And this is where it gets interesting because most people speak in such generalities. They'll be like, make it better, more modern, make it edgier,
Make it pop.
Yeah, make it pop, give it jazz.
Yeah.
Which those words mean nothing. And so now we actually are starting to tell people, like, hey, you're not allowed to use words like make it better or more modern or simpler. You can't say that. Doesn't mean anything. And we'll also ask for some reference apps. And our new rule, which I haven't told you about this, now clients, when they're giving us reference apps to inspire the new design, you're not allowed to show us an app that you've ever seen or heard of before. Because, like, if you show us Uber or something, that's front loaded with so much bias that you've had for years just experiencing Uber and all that. So I need to see apps that you've never heard of or seen, and you tell me you like the design of those and why you like the design of those. Then we design the app. That typically takes 2 or 3 like iterations to get full design locked in a way that people feel good. And then we do front end coding and back end coding. So we're starting to roll out modules for people to test and everything on that. And then we do final testing, and then we launch to Apple, Google, web, wherever the platforms are. And then it's maintenance and upgrades.
So when you come to, so if we came to you for this app, the first thing you're going to say is, give me $5K so we can sit down and so I can give you an estimate.
Yeah, I have a free consult with people for the conversation to go past that and us to give concrete answers. We got to do the blueprint. Yeah.
So now we went to, we paid the $5K, we sat down, and this is going to be one of the most robust things you've ever seen.
Yep.
What is that going to cost us?
Okay.
Because we have no budget here.
$5 million.
We have no budget here. Yeah. Well, so let's say you give me something that's robust, really robust.
Yes. For what? What was the topic? The brand. What are we? The
You
disruption.
forgot the disruption guys?
Yeah, the disruption guys. That's right.
I mean,
That's
the
our-
idea that you just threw at
marketing.
me would probably be like 90 grand. It'd be something like that.
soup to nuts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I envision this is very similar to architecture or home building, right? If I wanted to buy a house or get a house built, I go to a contractor. He'd give me that price, $90K.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen. We all know that the bathroom there's an issue.
Yep.
And it's going to cost another $10K. How does that manifest itself in the app world?
Yeah, so with us, you should expect, let's say you're not doing upgrades, you're just maintaining it. You should expect to spend 20 to 30 grand a year on just maintaining it.
Okay.
You need to make sure that you have a great marketing budget, because if I build you something that's awesome, that's just not even close to good enough. And I've seen a lot of people blow their entire budget on just us. And people will even start adding features after we've scoped. They'll add new features in version 1 before we're done. And I'll tell people very directly, like, hey, you should not give me this money. You should spend it on marketing. That's a big mistake that people make.
You don't do marketing.
We have marketing partners.
Got it. Us.
I mean, we'll see. If he takes the money first.
Right.
Okay, so people at home can now kind of get a little bit of an understanding that building an app is not just like, oh, I'm going to go on TapCart and like put together a couple of pages of content and all of a sudden I have this amazing new app.
Yeah.
The idea of software is that it has to properly be architectured and people have to understand something as simple as user types. And user types having different landing pages and profile pages and access to certain things and things that you turn on, off, so on and so forth. Like in any other business, your accountant is going to have certain access to things. Your sales guys are going to have certain access to things. Your customers shouldn't be able to see what those guys can see on the back end. And I guess whenever I've talked to people about apps, I'm always shocked that people don't understand some of that simple architecture that needs to go into things. And then people are like, what do you mean I need 10 grand a month in server costs? Like, what are people downloading? Well, you said you wanted them to be able to upload photos of their driver's license and videos of this, and you want to store all that data forever. Well, that costs money to do all those types of things.
Yeah.
So I guess what I would love to talk about, I mean, you've been doing this for 10 years. The world has changed pretty drastically. The cost of things have come down. AI has come out. I mean, can we talk about how the app development industry has been revolutionized over the last 10 years? And what have been some of the things that you love that have evolved? And what are some of the things that you hate that have evolved and changed in the industry?
Yeah. So, but by the way, on AI, we're still probably a few years away from that being incredibly useful for custom software.
Yeah.
And that's also where this conversation should live, is custom software. Like, there are drag and drop things you can do called low code for certain use cases. And I always send people away to those solutions if that's viable for them. There's a lot of things that require custom, but also especially if you want to own the IP. So there's a few things that come into that. And man, I'm sorry, I just lost the question when I explained that.
The stuff that you love,
okay,
has changed the past decade.
So here's what's good: is the talent pool has gotten larger. So that makes it, if I'm being selfish, it's just easier for somebody like me. The talent pool has gotten larger. The technology that exists for recruiting and managing talent has gotten more robust. And for paying people and all of that has gotten more robust. So that's great. The technology that exists for us to create custom dashboards and stuff very easily on our end for tracking data is a big deal. So like, for example, we were doing stuff on Asana and Excel for quite a while as far as project management. And then we are actually very data driven. We have just data you wouldn't believe. And we got to a place where those solutions weren't good enough. So then we went with NetSuite, with Oracle. We built out a bunch of custom dashboards. And we have real-time, live, aggregated data on a bunch of stuff now. You couldn't do that 10 years ago near as easily. Mm-hmm. So, but the thing is, you have to be good enough to still use the tools. Like, cool, a gun is better than a sword, but if you don't know how to shoot the gun, your head's getting chopped off by the sword. Like, so you have to know how to use the tools still. But there's better tools. There's better access to talent. There's also one of the problems with that, like the dark side of that, is I have people call me every week because they have access to developers online with, and they've gone with discount developers, and they call me every week with these stories of how nothing got done. They lost all their money. The developer's still doing it, and they say it'll be ready in just 3 days, even though they haven't seen anything. So that is happening, where people who don't know how to handle developers and tools are going to those developers, and then they're losing all their money and time on it because of that access.
Is AI at a place where it's, I don't even know if I know the answer to this myself, but is there a AI tool that will build you an app? Yeah.
No, not custom software.
AI, right?
Low code, all day
Yeah, there's
long.
like some low code ones, but I've played around with them, although it's been maybe 6 months since I've touched one because I'm not in the low code world, so I don't care as much.
Yeah.
But I played around with some of even the low code, and I was not impressed yet.
Okay.
They'll get there.
Of course.
And then eventually custom software will get there, but you still will need good user experience, good business model, good project management, even when that happens.
Got it.
So, like some examples of stuff that I've seen people use with AI for app development is when you do things that are like if this then that type code, and there's the IFTTT website, but I'm talking about like literally like if I geotarget and I walk into the building, turn on all the lights, AI can write a code for that, right? And then it could talk to the different apps and what you need to have,
right?
But like that doesn't make us a ton of money.
Right.
That doesn't build a business model by any means.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it was like, as soon as I walk into the building, notify these 7 customers and send a meeting request, maybe it could do it. But could it do the follow-up emails? Could it do the scheduling time, conflicts? Could it set up the Zoom call? I mean, now you need infrastructure and systems and processes and like null things for like, don't do this if this happens, don't do this if this happens, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And that's where the complexity starts at like such a basic level. We're talking about, he's tracking positions of the moon and satellites to make shipments go across the different places. Now, I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. I have no idea what the NASA app does. I'm not a rocket scientist, but I could make a dope rocket ship design in 3D if I had to.
Nice.
You wonder if rocket ships will ever be like NASCARs, with like logos and just place all around the rocket ship.
That'd be awesome.
It has to happen at some point, right?
Rocket races.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
To the moon? Oh, man. And we already have a tracking solution to know exactly where the rocket ship is.
Sponsored by the app guys,
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome. So let's talk about areas or apps that you love, right? If you're the app guys, you probably have a list of like 5 apps that you're just like, I wish I thought of these apps.
Uber. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah,
All right, no.
everybody says Uber, which obviously is a good app, but it just becomes white noise is the problem. Apps that I wish I would have thought of. I mean, Clubhouse was good for its time. They didn't.
All 6 weeks.
Yeah, those were. We all remember those 6 weeks, though, don't we? They just didn't. They didn't transition well.
They did not.
To be fair, it was hard because stuff was so weird at that time. So I'm not sure I would have done any better. But that was a good idea for the time. Some of my favorites, like the food delivery apps, are great, and they're getting better. Those are like a great concept because it also has created just a whole new business with the ghost kitchens, and it's allowed restaurants that are hurting to essentially have more ghost restaurants inside of it. I think that's really cool. Anything that's peer-to-peer, I tend to respect. So like Airbnb obviously is good. Stuff that allows people to do things. One thing I would love to see, I think the regulatory part of it would just be difficult. I would love to see the ability to order home-cooked meals from somebody in my neighborhood somebody could just make, $20,000 more a year cooking because they like to cook. That would like change lives. There's just regulatory issues there. I'd love to see something like that.
Oh yeah. Switching gears, what's it like when Apple decides to launch a new software for you guys?
Well,
let's not say software. Let's say like new regulations, like privacy stuff and what goes into that.
Well, so a couple things can happen. They can update the regulations, which can be problematic because they don't necessarily easily point out in their 1,000-page update what is relevant to you. So you can run into random issues when you're submitting something new on the App Store, and then this has happened maybe twice, but somebody says to us, wait, well, you're the app guys. Didn't you know this? Like, listen, we are not God. Apple is God. Like, there's only so much we can do, and we have to finesse how we work with Apple because those are human reviewers on the other side. And so then it all becomes about psychology again, right there, right? But then another thing that happens is the iOS updates can sometimes, just like for ads.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. I meant iOS updates.
That can be interesting because every now and then, and it's kind of similar to in the marketing world, it's not all the time that it massively changes things. But every now and then, it'll be like, oh, this is a big problem where we just have to eat it because Apple is God. We can't do anything about it. And we have to just do this new thing that they've said to do. And you just have to do the edits.
So you'll have a bunch of, how many apps do you have that you've created in your 10 years?
I don't know. A lot.
So
I don't know. Yeah.
Will it affect a bunch of those apps that you have created apps for where you'd have to go and make some changes on the back end to a bunch of those?
Yeah. See, it depends. Sometimes it can affect all the apps. Usually not. Usually it's going to affect either a new submission or newer submission. It just depends. It really depends on what the update is. Yeah.
So in the world of disruption and app building and everything that happens, I feel like this is probably a rare opportunity where you get to sit in front of guys like Ludwig and myself. What if we reverse the roles here? Do you have any questions that you'd want to ask us?
Yeah, I mean, when you think of creating a custom software, how much do you immediately imagine it's going to cost? What's the expectation?
I mean, starting 150 to 200, and that's with real basic level complexity.
Yeah.
And then that's all in for the year that I'm thinking of at that point. And if we raise complexity to the level of OCD that I have for organization and management, everything, I mean, you're looking at $1 million easy.
Yeah, it can happen like that for sure. Okay, well, that's interesting because a lot of people say way lower than that.
Well, the beauty is I've actually made an app. Right. So, I mean, Logan, have you ever made an app?
No.
Where's your head at? Because, like, we could talk about what I think photography costs and what you think photography costs, and our numbers are way off.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a great question. For someone like me who really doesn't know much about the back end, and I would have said a lot lower, 50,000, 30,000.
Mm-hmm. So
it really depends on what you want the app to do.
I guess so, yeah.
Right? So I own this domain called Swipe the Menu, and I always thought my slogan would be like, keep swiping even after you found your perfect match, right? Because the whole idea of like when you're on dating apps is like you can't swipe anymore, and that's part of the fun of those apps is to keep swiping. And so I was going to pair couples with restaurants so they can figure out how to plan their dates.
Yeah.
And, you know, just trying to map out what that would cost in sheer like data bandwidth requirements for the photos and the videos and whatever else needs to happen for how those restaurants pitch themselves. I mean, I was at $6 to $12,000 a month just for New Jersey. Jesus. Like, we're not even talking about national expansion or anything like that. The AWS bills would just be outrageous.
Yeah. So that's where one of the first things you want to do when you're looking at building a software is you should do financial modeling. You need a blueprint so that you know how much is this going to cost? How long is it going to take? And then during that process, you should work with somebody like us to do your financial modeling so you know, hey, just reasonably, what's the CAC? What's the customer acquisition cost going to be? How long is it going to take to get to an MRR break even? How long is it going to take to pay all of my initial money back? And people don't do this even close to enough. I'd say like 1% of people come to me with that in mind or planning to do that or having already done that. People will go through, I've seen people go through their entire project never mentioning projections and financial modeling, which is a bad idea. You need to have data. You need to know what you expect to make and how long you expect it to take you to make that amount of money.
So the idea of like you don't know what you don't know, we talk about a lot on this podcast, right?
Yeah.
And it's this concept that even like when someone's launching a new business, they don't have good advisorship giving them guidance on the things that they don't know, like, you know, the customer acquisition costs, how much do I need for marketing? Are there going to be seasonalities with app downloads for conversation's sake, right? Is there a period where it's significantly higher, where it's lower? What happens when iPhone drops a new phone, right? What happens when the glasses come out? What happens when Samsung drops a new phone? All of this has some type of effect on a grand scale for how people look at this stuff. But even if you were searching today for how to get those answers, there's no one place to go get a proper feed of those answers.
No.
Right? I mean, we've talked about it with a couple JV things that we're talking about of creating a system for people to be able to access the right people for answers for stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's honestly, it's sad how many people will have great ideas and they won't even see the light of day.
No, right.
Because they saved up $30,000 and they hired some random developer from overseas.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's not even always the developer's fault, right? The developer is doing exactly what they said that they wanted, but they didn't know that they needed 3 different user types, or they didn't know that they needed AWS for hosting, and all of a sudden all their budget got drawn out over test uploads.
Right.
I've seen that happen. Test uploads have ruined budgets.
Yeah. Most scams are accidental scams. There's like 2 types of scams, and when I was running the Solana ecosystem is when I learned this because
Solana had scams.
We reviewed over 20,000 Web3 projects, so that's DAOs and DApps and cryptos.
And you reviewed all of them?
No, I had a 8-person department. I reviewed like
was
2
it
of them.
Was it 60-page packets?
No, they were like white papers.
Did anyone send you a video?
No.
Man.
No. Yeah, so we decided what the criteria was for reviewing these projects, and we accepted or rejected them to the official ecosystem. And what I learned there were some people intentionally scamming. That's a low percent, though. Snakes is a low percent. The higher percent of scams is these people that are well-intentioned, or at least they're not bad-intentioned, and they wind up just having low competency that creates chaos, and then they try to solve the chaos using low integrity solutions, and it all explodes into a scam. And so what happens with discount developers is they're a developer. They're not a designer. They're probably, maybe they're a full stack developer. They're not a project manager. They're not a user experience expert. They're not a business expert. They're not an industry domain expert. And you're trying to tell them what to do, and they're trying to do what you're telling them to do. So have you ever seen the show Silicon Valley?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I've watched it so many times.
Pied Piper.
It is genuinely a good show to watch to understand software and the software world better. There's this one occasion where Guilfoyle, one of the characters, tells his AI to order burgers for lunch for the office. And the AI, which same thing a developer would do, orders 2,000 pounds of ground beef to be delivered. So, like, it did what it was told.
Yeah.
And this is what you run into with developers all the time.
Right.
Is they're like, it does do. I did what you told me. There's nuance. There's context. There's project management required. So
there's barriers to language.
Yeah.
Right? And make it pop. What does that mean to a certain person? Or this is bad. Well,
Right.
maybe that means it's good.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example. So let's say you've hired a discount developer, right? And you say to them, and they are also handling design when they shouldn't. And you're like, and they've kind of built this functional thing, and you're still messing around with making it right. And you say, hey, this doesn't work quite right. Right here in this login page, I need you to make it pop. And then they come back to you, and there's a graphic where it pops open. I swear to God, stuff like that happens all the time.
Like a comic book?
Yeah, sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So if you hire a discount developer and you don't have an expert project manager, the failure of the project is your fault.
Right.
And if you aren't an expert project manager, good luck. Just because you have a 7 or 8 figure business already, which a lot of my clients do, does not mean that you're going to be a good project manager. In fact, let me go one step further. If you're a visionary, you for sure will be bad at running a software project. 100%. Visionaries have a 100% failure rate at running software projects.
Shots fired. For sure. All right, so what are the ideal types of projects? Is it the kinds that are funded? Is it the kinds that are well staffed? Is it the kinds that spend the 6 months of doing all the research beforehand?
So for me, yeah, that becomes interesting, right? I love being able to connect with cool people. Like, that's definitely a fun part of it for me and for my team. You know what we really enjoy? Even though they're not always, from the outside, they wouldn't always be considered the sexiest. But if you're like a roofing company and you come to us and you're like, hey, I want my internal reporting to be better and for our contractors to be able to talk to our subcontractors with the software, we love that stuff. That's like really interesting and fun for us. One, because we're already dealing with industry experts, so their ability to say what should be built is pretty high. So we like that. And then 2, we can immediately see the results. Because even if they're building, a lot of times, a company, maybe they're roofing, paving, construction, whatever, they'll build something that they use for themselves, but that they're also going to sell to other companies. Yeah. We're able to immediately see, oh, okay, you used it inside your company. You ran $10 million or $1 million of business through it, essentially, or like proposals or whatever, and this many use cases, and it improved your efficiency or your income or shortened your build timelines or whatever. It's like very quickly quantifiable, and we're able to kind of breathe and be like, okay, it worked. Yeah. Like we already knew we built what we were supposed to build, but it feels good when we build something that is impactful in some way. So we like those kind of projects.
And then conversely, what kind of projects are the most challenging?
So when the founder has no business experience or not a high level of success in business, that tends to take more work collaborating because there's such an experience gap. Now that's fine. It's just there's more education that winds up having to happen in that relationship.
I have a question about some potential clients that we may have. We work a lot in the fitness industry. We know a lot of fitness influencers. Have you created apps for fitness influencers where there's a membership site and they their audience wants to sign up, pay $7, $9, $12 a month to have access to this influencer, whether it's workouts, nutrition tips, things like that?
Logan, tell us the truth. Did you make OnlyFans.com? Are you the guy behind OnlyFans?
Man, it was the reason I built that was for people to show off Pokemon cards.
It wasn't for feet pics?
Bro, I don't know what happened there. It just got away from me. Okay, fitness. So we've done an app called Billion Pound App.
Okay.
Really cool story. So this dude, his name's Bill Gobbin, and he was a miner, like a coal miner. And he was in a mine and it collapsed on him. He was trapped under it for like 12 hours or something. He was permanently disabled.
Wow.
These horrible people gave him a lifetime settlement of $40,000. Done with him. Okay? Disabled, done with him. And he's in his 40s, maybe 50s.
Okay.
Sorry, Bill, I don't know how old you are. And he was like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to make an app. And the Billion Pound app, he's into fitness. He likes lifting. The Billion Pound app basically tracks how many pounds you've lifted. So if I do a bench press, right, let's say 200 pounds 10 times, boom, I put that in, that's 2,000 pounds. And I can do like you versus you. I can do an event where it's you versus you, or where it's like The Rock's team versus Kevin Hart's team.
That's cool.
So he built that app, and that's really cool. That was a fun one. And actually, I think we just added a basketball module to it.
Oh, that's
too.
super cool.
Yeah, we've added a few more. He's added a few more things to it. So that's a cool one. I guess in nutrition, So the former president of Nike Air Jordan had us make an app that called Foodie, and that's where. So I don't know. I guess that's not nutrition though. That's just for food lovers. But you can though look up like stuff according to your preferences and nutrition preferences and stuff. So yeah, we haven't done exactly a membership thing that I'm recalling right now.
Okay.
But we've done a few fitness things. That's an interesting space because if you can be a winner in the space, it's great. It can make a lot of money. But it's also it's a big pond to compete in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you have the right influencer, right? Like if you had The Rock and he wanted his influencer app.
Yeah. Yes.
When it comes to something like that, would you ever do a deal where you're taking a percentage of that income, or would you just want whatever the cost is of the app up front?
Yeah, so I've done, I mean, just speaking generally, I have millions of dollars in equities.
Okay.
In softwares, about 10 different softwares. But I'm very selective. Like I'm
of course.
super, super picky. If somebody comes to me, I'm probably saying no. But also, my rule of thumb here is, if I'm doing an equity deal, one, I need you to build a version 1 before we even talk about it. You got to build your version 1. Let us have a rhythm together, and also show that you're not using me just for a discount. Because if that's it, then no thank you, right? That's not a good basis for a partnership. So you have to do a version 1, and you have to do it with me, because I want to control the tech, right? Because then I know it's good.
Yeah,
right. And so I have to do a version 1 with you. We've been able to date before we get married a little bit, and then we will do, then we can look at an equity deal. It has to be a good fit. It has to be a good product market fit. The cap table can't be all over the place. there's a number of things that I require in a deal like that. There has to be marketing funds in place. I'm not getting into an underfunded deal. That's not happening. If you come to me and you're like, hey, I have no money or anything but a great idea, I can't partner with you. You have to bring funding. You have to bring expertise. Otherwise, I would just build stuff myself. It's not like I need ideas. I could have plenty of ideas.
Right.
I need the right partners when I'm partnering on an equity deal.
So, what led you to become an Instagram influencer?
An Instagram influencer.
Bro, your content is so fire right now.
Thank you.
You're posting regularly, and I'm always showing it to people on the team, and I'm just like, man, this is hilarious, or this is cool, the way that they're editing this and whatever they're doing. Because at some point, there had to have been a shift in your mindset where you're like, I need to get in front of the camera, and people need to learn about Logan, the app guy.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about this. So first, I'll give you some real numbers here. Right now, collectively on social media, we're including LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook and
MySpace and
MySpace, Instagram, all that. I'm reaching about 250,000 people a month on everything together. And I think by the end of the year, what we're shooting for by the end of the year is 1 million people a month. Before I had any video that hit 10,000 views on YouTube, I had 500 videos up on YouTube.
Wow.
I was just, so it's not like I just started trying video and I was like, oh man, let's see if this works.
In my defense, his money was on red before he met me, and now it's on black. So.
Yeah. So I mean, I was trying it for years, and it's, learning how to get comfortable in front of the camera. I was trying to do it myself, right? All that. What started to work, there were kind of two main parts of scale up. One is a few years ago when I had a Zoom podcast, and I did.
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that anymore. Now, and I did over 400 episodes of that, and they were short 10-minute podcasts, and that was probably the biggest contributor to my first $1 million that I made, was that podcast. But still, it was like, it wasn't good though. Like, it just gave me reps. Okay.
Yeah, right.
So it gave me a lot of reps. And then when I eventually hired like an in-person, like he comes, he knows lighting, he knows sound, he directs me in person. We have a good rapport.
This guy from the UK?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. He's from London. Or, well, I say London. The whole UK is London, right?
Yeah, the whole.
I think he's like 2 hours away from London.
It's just big. It's like Big Ben and then his backyard, right?
I do it to him all the time. I'll introduce him and be like, yeah, he's from London. He's like 2 hours from London. But so yeah, when I had that and somebody to collaborate with me on strategy, and then also instead of me just being like, I guess I got to do a video today, and because I'm trying to get one a day, let's do 3 today and see what I can do. I film in a shot once a month, and I do 30 videos in one day.
Oh, wow.
Which is, you're like on energy drinks and modafinil to get that done. You know what I'm saying? But you power through, you get them done, and I'm done. So the quality came up of the lighting and the production and somebody in person to collaborate with me. The friction went down, but I'm also spending, I'm all in, not just him, but like I rent stuff, I rent venues and I do things. I'm spending 6 figures a year to do that as well. So I also had to get to a point where I could afford some of these jumps.
Right. How much time are you spending on the simple things like thumbnail covers and
None.
caption? No.
Headlines, the team spends time on.
Okay.
The thumbnails we spend 0 time on right now. Although that's been a discussion. But also,
I mean, Mr. Beast, right? He would disagree with
but that's for long form though.
Got it.
Yeah, and I'm only doing short form.
Got it.
And I think one of the principles that I deploy that is useful for people is I don't look at it and go, oh man, but you got to do this, you got to do the right thumbnails, and you got to do 2 videos a day, and you got to do long form. Plus, you have to have a podcast that's long form and then you don't do anything. Like, bro, I have people all the time. They'll be like, "Oh, your videos are great. You should be doing this and this."
Yeah.
It's like, bitch,
Yeah.
I just started this part. Yeah. You have to sometimes just segue into things there, and let yourself get a rhythm, and then you can do it. Once you can do it with one hand tied behind your back, then you add the next piece. Yeah. And hey, man, there's dudes out there that just level up way faster than me. Good for them.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. I'm doing it at a pace where I can actually do it sustainably.
So what is the next step for you in terms of leveling up your content?
The next step is going to be fan accounts, where we literally take the same footage, we create other accounts, and it would be like app guy. Maybe I'll take footage from stuff like this. Logan's podcast clips. Logan, it'd be like 10 of those accounts of just app guys and Logan Fields and stuff. All separate accounts.
Alcor eating ice cream.
Yeah, you could literally have a channel just for that.
I mean, these girls in Japan get paid millions of dollars to stick ice cream in their face.
That's so
and
weird.
just have videos for it. So I feel like if I eat ice cream, we could get at least $50 a video.
I think that'd be huge. Have you seen those videos of those Asian women eating food, just eating like tons of just stuffing?
Oh, yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I can eat a lot. We could disrupt.
I know this. That'd be great content.
So Logan, the people at home that want to learn more about you, what are all the handles? Are there different handles for Logan and different handles for the app guys?
So it's at Logan the app guy.
At Logan the app guy.
Yeah, that's what matters. And the website's theappguys.com.
Awesome. Get your 5K ready. Call Amex and swipe it. That's the way to make this happen.
Sweet.
Dude, thanks so much for coming down to New Jersey and then hopping in on the podcast. This is something that's been a long time in the works, and it's just been great having you here, man.
Yeah, man. Thank y'all.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right. Bye, guys. We'll catch you guys in the next episode.